Hey folks, welcome back to part 2 in our lesson on lifecycle hooks. In this lesson, we're going to get our hands dirty and work through lifecycle hooks. So looking at the DevOps doctrine, let's go into lifecycle hooks. And the steps we're going to take, we're going to create a launch configuration. We're going to create an auto-scaling group. Then we'll create a lifecycle hook. And we're going to manually launch an instance so that we can monitor the life cycle of this instance. And then we're going to verify successful installation of our software on the instance. Now recall that the lifecycle hook is going to pause the launch of the instance in a pending wait state, allowing our custom actions, in our case, software installation on our instance, time to complete. Now we have an upcoming learning activity on lifecycle hooks. And in that learning activity, we are going to create our lifecycle hook from the command line interface. So in this lesson, I'm just going to show a different way to go about it. And that is creating a lifecycle hook in the AWS Management Console. So let's go back to our diagram and get started. Okay, so we're at the EC2 dashboard. And first of all, we want to create a launch configuration. And click Create Launch Configuration, Amazon Linux AMI, and our handy T2 Micro, which is free tier eligible. Let's configure the details. And let's call our launch configuration hooks. And let's select an IAM role. Now, in advanced details, the user data, this is where we can place our script to install software on the EC2 instance. And this is where the lifecycle hook pauses the instance in a pending wait state, allowing these commands to run. All right, now let's plug in our script. This will be provided in the learning materials, and I'll zoom in on it a bit. So we're doing a yum update just to make sure our Linux package is up to date. And we're going to install a stress tool. And this is a bit of a sneak preview for an upcoming learning activity where this stress tool is going to stress an auto-scaling group by way of heavy CPU utilization. And it gives us a way to test our auto-scaling group. But we're not going to do anything with it in this lesson. It's just a piece of software that we can install on the instance and check to make sure that our lifecycle hook is working properly. Now, I mentioned the upcoming learning activity, and in that learning activity, our user data is going to install a web application. So again, I just wanted to show something a little bit different. So we'll install this stress tool. Then we're getting the instance ID, and we're going to need the instance ID in the upcoming commands. And this command is key, complete lifecycle action. When a lifecycle hook pauses an instance in a pending wait state, the default time is 60 minutes. Well, as you'll see, we'll be able to verify that our software installed successfully in well under 60 minutes. So we can issue this command to complete the lifecycle action. So it's AWS Autoscaling, complete lifecycle action. You need to provide a result, and it's going to be continue or abandon. We have the same command with either a continue or an abandon result based on the outcome of these commands. Note the double ampersands. So all of these commands have to complete successfully. If so, we want to complete the lifecycle action with a continue result, and if not, or we want to abandon. Let's just walk through the complete lifecycle action. We need to provide the result, instance ID, which we grabbed up here, lifecycle hook name, which we've not created yet, but we just have to make sure to name it DevOps Pro hook. auto-scaling group's name, and we need to specify the region. And I'm going to change the region to US West 2. Okay, and we need to, for our instances, assign a public IP address so that we can SSH into the instance. Let's skip to review, create launch configuration, and let's create a new key pair. Let's call it LF hooks, and download and create launch configuration. And now we can create our auto-scaling group. And we're going to name this DevOps Pro. And remember, this matches the name in our launch configuration. Now, we're going to set the size at 0 because we're going to scale up manually so that we can review our instance's lifecycle. Now, we need to select a subnet. Click Configure Scaling Policies. We're going to keep this group at its initial size. Remember, 0. Click Review. And create auto-scaling group. Let's view our auto-scaling group. Let's click on it. We see our desired min and max is 0. We're going to change that shortly. Let's click on the Lifecycle tab and create a Lifecycle hook. Again, an upcoming learning activity is going to do this from the command line. And we're going to call this DevOps Pro Hook. Remember, this matches the Lifecycle hook name in our script. And the transition we want is the instance launch. So when the instance launches, it's going to go into pending state. It's going to go to pending wait. And at that point, our lifecycle hook is going to pause it. Now, it has a default result of abandon, and it doesn't matter because we have both results in our script, continue or abandon, based on success or failure of our software installation. Let's click Create. Okay, so we have a lifecycle hook for our auto-scaling group. And the transition it's looking for is EC2 instance launching. So we set our auto-scaling group size to 0, and we're going to change that right now. All right. Now, as soon as we save this, the wheels are going into motion, and we'll see up here almost instantly. Instances may be in a process of launching or terminating in order to match desired capacity, and note that our min-max and desired changed. Let's quickly go to the Instances tab. All right, it's right now in a pending state. Shortly, it'll go to a pending wait state, at which point our lifecycle hook is going to pause it. And there it is. And you can really see how quick that is. If you have a 10, 15, or more minute software installation, you're going to have a timing problem. Your instance is going to be in service. Your load balancer may be serving traffic to it, and the software is not installed yet. We can trust that our lifecycle hook has paused this instance in the pending wait state. We're going to trust but verify. Let's take a quick look at our activity history tab, and it's noting that an instance was launched based on a user request. We updated our auto-scaling group metrics. Our instance is frozen in the pending wait state. Let's go over to the EC2 dashboard, and we can tell already our instance has launched. Now it's running, but it's not quite through the status checks. As soon as it completes the checks, we can verify all of this. We're going to SSH into our instance and just verify the installation of our software. While we're waiting, let's go over to our launch configuration and do a quick review. View user data. Now remember, it's probably already done, but our instance was launched, Yum update was done, the stress tool was installed, and we'll verify that momentarily. So we grab the instance ID, and the big thing in the script is our complete lifecycle action. So assuming our software installed properly, this complete lifecycle action will issue the continue command, and our instance can complete its lifecycle to in service. So let's go back to our instance. Okay, The instance has completed its checks. Let's grab our SSH connection string, and I'm going to switch over to a terminal. All right, so over at a terminal, just need to go to the Downloads folder, do a chmod 400 on our key pair. All right, and now we just plug in our connection string. Okay, so we created a launch configuration and an auto-scaling group. We launched an instance. Within that group, our lifecycle hook paused that instance in a pending wait state. We simply have to verify that our software installed properly. So I'm just going to enter the stress command. Okay, stress imposes certain types of compute stress on your system. And it's just giving me some help on using stress. So stress does not come with these Linux AMIs. Our installation completed successfully thanks to the lifecycle hooks. And we have successfully completed the task in this lesson. So go ahead and mark this lesson complete, and let's move on to the next.